This week, Johnson & Johnson has received emergency use authorization for its single-shot vaccine, with millions of doses already being shipped across the country. And in Washington this week, Biden's major $1.9 trillion COVID relief package was passed in the House and will be moving on to the Senate. In New York this week, Governor Cuomo is under fire for allegedly underreporting COVID-19 deaths in nursing homes and facing multiple accusations of sexual harassment, and several major headlines around the globe, from a mass kidnapping in Nigeria to a new report from the U.S. on the killing of Jamal Khashoggi. Just 2 weeks after the winter storm, JSA's Sophie Kalman has an exclusive with Texas State Representative Greg Goldman on the failure of the Texas Power Grid. And finally tonight, a plumber from New Jersey is making a difference in Texas.
This is the JSA Weekly Update.
Good morning, and it's great to have you with us here on this Wednesday morning. There was a lot of breaking news to get to this week, from Governor Cuomo's scandals to the $1.9 trillion stimulus package, and our team is standing by to carefully guide you through it all. But we begin with the breaking news regarding the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. The one-shot vaccine has been granted emergency use authorization and has already begun shipping across the country. JSA's Ilsa Qureshi reports.
The Food and Drug Administration has approved Johnson & Johnson's COVID-19 vaccine for emergency use, giving the United States a third tool to fight the pandemic as highly contagious variants start to take root across the country. Healthcare providers will be receiving the first 3.9 million doses of Johnson & Johnson's vaccine as early as Tuesday morning. Officials expect another 16 million doses to be available by the end of March, though J&J told the federal government that the doses will be delivered mostly toward the second half of the month. The federal government has purchased 100 million doses of the vaccine, which requires only a single shot, but supplies are expected to be scarce until at least April. The Biden administration has decided to distribute the J&J vaccine proportional to states' populations. This is the same formula used to send the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines. The vaccine timing could not have been more perfect, as the country reached a staggering benchmark last Monday, surpassing 500,000 known coronavirus-related deaths. Max?
And it's important to note that while this vaccine will be a game changer, public health officials are stating that this is not the time to let up on mask wearing or social distancing. Thank you, Ilsa. As the vaccine rollout ramps up across the country, there are still millions without jobs and struggling financially during this pandemic. Biden's major COVID-19 relief effort, a $1.9 trillion stimulus package, has passed through the House this week and is on the way to the Senate. JSA's Ethan Canfield has the details.
On Saturday, February 27th, the House passed a $1.9 trillion package called the American Rescue Plan. This will be one of Biden's first major pieces of legislation if passed by the Senate. The bill gives $1,400 checks to individuals who were hit the hardest by the pandemic. These checks will be given on top of the earlier stimulus checks in December. The bill would also more than double the hourly minimum wage from $7.25 to $15. However, this change may not end up in the final version of the bill. The Senate parliamentarian, Elizabeth McDonough, said that this change cannot be made in the COVID-related bill, but Chuck Schumer and other Democrats are not conceding easily. $85 billion of the bill will go towards COVID-19 testing, healthcare expansions, and vaccine distribution. The rest of the bill aids and provides funding for state and local governments, schools and childcare, food, rent, mortgages, business relief, and healthcare coverage.
And we'll stay on it. Thank you, Ethan. Well, there were a lot of headlines domestically. There was also a lot of news around the world, from Nigeria to Saudi Arabia. JSA's international correspondent, Vicky Kai, covers the stories from around the world.
As we approach the 10-year anniversary of the start of the Syrian civil war, the fighting seems to have settled into a tentative stalemate following U.S. President Joe Biden's airstrike against Iranian-backed militias along the border with Iraq. President Bashar al-Assad's government, which currently controls most of the country's land, must now turn its attention to addressing the country's severe economic crisis that has arisen as a result of the civil war. Another kidnapping of Nigerian schoolgirls by Boko Haram occurred late last week, when 317 students at a secondary school in Jangebe were abducted at gunpoint in an overnight raid. A U.S. report found the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman ordered the killing of Saudi dissident journalist Jamal Khashoggi, which occurred on October 2, 2018, in the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. As a retaliatory measure, President Biden imposed sanctions and a visa ban on Saudi Arabia. However, he has been cautious not to put in place punishments on bin Salman himself, for fear of damaging strained relations with a close Middle Eastern ally. A massive and mysterious oil spill of unknown origin occurred off of Israel's coast, triggering millions of dollars spent in a recovery effort in one of the worst ecological disasters in Israel's history. In other news, a U.S. report found that Ethiopia has been engaged in an ethnic cleansing in the Tigray region. Iran rejected the proposal of direct nuclear talks with the U.S., increasing tensions already incited by Biden's airstrike in Syria, and at least 18 people were killed in protests against Myanmar's coup when military government officials opened fire on protesters. That's our weekly international news rundown. Max?
Vicky Kai with all the international headlines. Thank you, Vicky. We move on to New York, where a second woman has come forward with accusations of sexual harassment from New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. This comes as Governor Cuomo also faces another scandal for allegedly underreporting the number of COVID-19 deaths in nursing homes. JSA's Jack Paransky reports.
New York Governor Andrew Cuomo has been under fire for a couple of reasons for the past 2 weeks, first of which are reports that he didn't count 50% of the nursing home mortality rate from COVID-19 within his state. Second of which is an investigation on sexual harassment he made towards a 20-year-old employee of his. A couple weeks ago, he denied any accusation, but is now issuing an apology for, quote, inappropriate questions, some of which include questions about the woman's stance on monogamy and if she was willing to date another man. He's being investigated about both of these now. Back to you, Max.
And there is late reporting tonight that a third woman has come forward with allegations of unwanted sexual advances from Governor Cuomo. We will stay on it. Thank you, Jack. We continue with the JSA exclusive. JSA's Sophie Kalman had a chance to speak with Texas State Representative Craig Goldman about the investigation into the failure of the Texas power grid during the major winter storm just 2 weeks ago.
Last Thursday and Friday, the House Energy Resources Committee and the Senate State Affairs Committee led a joint hearing interviewing a variety of witnesses, including ERCOT executives, members of the Public Utilities Commission, corporate leaders of private energy companies in major Texas cities, and more. Craig Goldman, a state representative from Fort Worth and chair of the House Energy Resources Committee, is with us now on a JSA exclusive.
There's a great lack of communication from the people who knew that was going on or in preparation of what was going on to the people of Texas. And that's, when I say a lack of communication, I mean a lack of communication from the people who knew that we possibly not were just going to have rolling blackouts, but could have outages for 2 to 3 days. The people of Texas didn't know that. They didn't expect that.
And you can check out Sophie's full interview with Representative Goldman on JSA's YouTube page at Emory-JSA Space Broadcast. Thank you, Sophie. We turn to the weather events from around the globe that you might have missed. For that, we turn to JSA's weather correspondent, Phoebe Cosgrove.
While rivers are already rising, a new storm will further heighten the risk for flooding and severe weather across the lower Mississippi and Tennessee valleys around the middle of the week. The same storm is set to bring a disruptive snow and ice to the central states. A giant iceberg broke off the Brunt Ice Shelf in Antarctica on Friday. The 490 square miles of ice is bigger than New York City and broke free in a process called calving. Scientists have been expecting this large iceberg to break away for years. See you next week.
And that was a pretty wild sight there in Antarctica. Thank you, Phoebe. And finally tonight, a piece of good news in these difficult times. After seeing the devastating impacts of the winter storm in Texas and the need for more plumbers, New Jersey plumber Andrew Mitchell loaded up his truck with $2,000 worth of equipment and made a 22-hour drive to Texas. He's been going across on calls across the Houston area, servicing 6 to 10 homes per day, and he has only been charging whatever people can afford to pay. Now that is a true superhero. And that's this week's JSA Update. Be sure to check out our new Instagram page at JSA Weekly for news updates and exclusive content. From all of us here at JSA, I'm Max Rothman. Have a great day, and I'll see you right back here next week.